Ladies and gentlemen, New York Times Federal Bureau of Investigation raids home of Eric Adams' fundraising chief. Mr. Adams abruptly canceled several meetings in Washington, D.C. to return to New York as the Federal Bureau of Investigation agents raided the home of his fundraiser, chief fundraiser. Now, a couple of things to remember. We can just look at NBC New York article. Federal Bureau of Investigation searches Crown Heights home of Chief Eric Adams fundraiser. So you have to understand a couple of things regarding how the Federal Bureau of Investigation or this country works when it comes to Democrats. FBI searches home of fundraiser to New York mayor. This is just today. This is breaking news. Hit subscribe right now. When it's Trump, who is a president with the power to declassify documents, the Federal Bureau of Investigation raided Mar-a-Lago. This, of course, was, from a political element, a publicity stunt. They didn't have to raid Mar-a-Lago. That was a publicity stunt or a political stunt aimed at boosting the poll numbers of a dreadfully unpopular president, mashed potato brains, our current president. So when they went into Mar-a-Lago, they had already been in contact with Trump. They didn't have to raid they didn't even have to go in. But then they went in, they got all this alleged evidence, and they're indicting a former president who was president with the power to declassify documents, even verbally, and now they're indicting him because they apparently found all this incriminating evidence to send him away. Of course, just recently, the judge stated that she was going to postpone the trial because the special counsel was not giving enough access to exculpatory evidence to Trump's lawyers. So during the discovery phase, of course, they have nothing on Trump. So they were trying to hold, they weren't giving Trump's attorneys and his legal counsel everything they need. Anyway, it's a whole mess, which of course will result in Trump either being acquitted or that trial completely dissolving. The other ones, he might get convicted, but they will almost certainly be overturned by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court overturns and reverses corruption convictions all the time when there's politics involved. And politics is the only reason they're going after Trump. They despise him. Now, why did I go through that whole preamble or preface? The reason is that when the Federal Bureau of Investigation searches the fundraiser of a New York mayor, it's almost certainly because there's no way, shape, or form they could possibly not investigate rampant corruption within Tammany Hall. So, for example, when Hillary Clinton had the Comey letter, when the Honorable James Comey wrote the Comey letter, he did so because there was so much rampant criminality in terms of servers and top secret data on those servers and classified data that they found even more classified data after they tried to sweep everything under the rug and go to bat for Clinton. So when Democrats finally get justice, or whatever you want the term to be, when they finally get investigated, or they finally get a Comey letter, a Director Comey letter, so to speak, that's because it's a failed cover-up, or the criminality is so rampant that the FBI and others just have to investigate. That's what's taking place right now. There's almost certainly something going on with the fundraising of Mayor Adams. You can look really quickly here. I'm not showing you this. These are the super PACs. Hold on one second. So he worked with a number of super PACs, as did everyone else, Andrew Yang. But here, former Democratic Party chair sentenced for conspiring to obtain money from foreign sources. You can read the whole title to yourself, but this is the Justice Department website, and here you have, that's just one example of what's going on. But then you also have Sheldon Silver, 77, New York power broker, convicted of corruption. Okay, then you have disgraced former Congressman Anthony Weiner leaves New York halfway house. These are all Democrats. Then you have Ocasio-Cortez, top aide, should be investigated for possible campaign finance violations. This is by a former FEC chairman. So there are a number, and I haven't even got, there's some other, there were some other Democrats who went to prison or were indicted in the past couple of years in New York. You can look up Tammany Hall in New York. It is a political machine. So, for example, Ocasio-Cortez worked with a whole bunch of super PACs. We can read this here. This is from Hans A. von Spakovsky. And so this could possibly be what Mayor Adams is guilty of, potentially, as the Honorable James Comey would say, potentially. They asked the Honorable James Comey if he would testify against his former friend and colleague, I don't know how friendly they were, Andrew McCabe, and he said, potentially. Anyway, an investigation is needed to determine if Socialist Representative AOC, the media magnate and far-left fringe of the Democratic Party, has broken federal campaign finance laws. If convicted of criminal conduct, she could get up to 5 years in prison for each violation. Now, if you look at what he accused Justice Democrats PAC, gee, were there any famous YouTubers linked to Justice Democrats? That's interesting. The Justice Democrats PAC that Ocasio-Cortez and another person controlled also paid brand new Congress. I think also the same types of people were ideologically involved with both PACs, or the same types of ideologues were ideologically involved in both PACs from a financial and fundraising perspective. Ever wonder why some YouTube channels get $20 million in venture capital funding? Maybe that has nothing to do with this, but here, a brand new Congress PAC paid brand new Congress LLC in addition $261,000. So what's the significance of shifting this money from one group to another? The complaint from the National Legal and Policy claims that the organization that AOC paid is a shell organization. Shell organizations almost $900,000 paid one of the people they worked with, shell organizations, $900,000 for strategic consulting. So they were just taking campaign funds, paying themselves with campaign donations, and sharing the wealth. The problem, however, is that a lawyer for the campaign finance law, if a campaign and PAC under control of the PAC was funding campaign staff and activities as an alter ego of the campaign committee, that would be blatant abuse of the rule governing PACs. Now, this is just one example. Apparently, AOC either didn't do this or wasn't investigated enough or evaded or circumvented this scandal. AOC's campaign and campaign chairman they had an excuse for all of this. So from their perspective, it was completely legal. From the perspective of Hans A. von Spakovsky, it wasn't, which gets us back to the mayor, the New York mayor. See, this is all convoluted because so many things could go wrong with fundraising in New York. The interesting thing is that you're a New York mayor. Not many New York mayors have had their chief of fundraising raided by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Like I said in the precursor to all of this, when a Democrat gets investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation or any other agency, that's because the cover-up is either over or the criminality is so rampant it's unbelievable. All of media, and you have Biden's administration, they're going to do everything possible not to investigate the Democrat. In this case, they couldn't help themselves because likely the criminality was too rampant. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now to read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, other publications. Go to hagoodman.com.